Hi, friends. Welcome to today's message. We are going to jump right in. As I sat down and got today's cards out, I heard very clearly Battle of Wills. Like there's someone caught up in a battle of wills. Um, and it's an unnecessary one. And then I heard that it is one rooted in pride on both sides. We have two very stubborn individuals here. This is a no contact kind of situation. It feels very cold shoulder-y, but there's been a very clear break here where there was a connection, and now because of some differences that we will get into in just a second, there is either little or no communication. So we're going to take a look at both sides. It's up to you. I hope that you are using your discernment whenever that you are listening to general collective messages, but for this reading, because we'll be going back and forth between two people, please use your discernment in figuring out if you are person A or person B. Let's start with person A. Person A is someone who in this connection finds themselves to be very defensive. Someone that in their experience, they would say that they always have to kind of justify, I feel like, their interests almost. This is like someone wanting to spend time doing some kind of hobby, but maybe their partner wishes that they were more wanting to spend time together, or finding a way where you guys could spend time, even just sharing space, even if this hobby isn't necessarily one that can be shared between two people. I don't know what specifically this kind of thing would be. It feels like maybe some type of physical um some type of physical activities that I feel like maybe just the other partner isn't super interested in themselves. But anyway, this is just someone who feels like they are constantly having to defend themselves. If this is a connection where I feel like conversations often go sideways just because there is one person who feels like, I think both of you wish that the other person was more considerate and understanding of the other's desires, because what I feel like is that one person you know, maybe is a little more introverted into themselves. And so when they do things, they're just used to kind of doing things themselves. This could also be a reflection of the kind of environment that they grew up in. Um, Maybe there's some kind of distance here with, or maybe even there's a little bit of a struggle. There's not water I'm seeing actually in this spread that much. Not the point. This is just someone who I think, because of their upbringing, is much more independent. And so it's not necessarily second nature to them to be considerate of a partner, even though they are in a partnership. Well, and so this other person B, is kind of in a position where they feel that they are constantly reminding their partner, like, well, what about me? That it's that kind of thing. Just feeling like you have to remind someone that you exist, and wanting them to involve you in the things that they enjoy, and kind of bring this other person into what it is that they enjoy. And so this person can kind of feel like they're always being attacked just from like wanting to do things, almost is how they would describe it. Like there's, whatever they want to do, there's something that they have to defend. Person B feels like I'm going to be honest, this is someone who I think thinks that they know a little bit more than they do. And this is coming through as like the way that it manifests is a lot of jumping to conclusions. Um, I think if anything, this would be the person who maybe like uses silence as a kind of, I don't want to say as a weapon, but this is someone who, again, I think they want their silence to be noticed, and they want their silence to be brought up by their partner. And what I'm seeing that is the undercurrent for this is there's a desire for a deeper emotional connection and understanding, um, to where it seems like in kind of maybe childish or even like petty ways that they do certain things, hoping for certain responses. But again, the what's underneath it is a desire for them to feel more understood and seen emotionally by by person A. Um, I think right now this person is trying to gain a deeper understanding of kind of what's going on. I think there is a little bit of an awakening happening here just about the way that communication is taking place. And that there's just a kind of disconnect between how you guys understand one another and the way that you really find connection with another person. Because again, I'm seeing like just the upbringings, the family life of both of you during like childhood is a little bit different. So the way that you find intimacy is different. Um the desires for each individual. Both of you are wanting communication, like that is very clear here. I think the way that you guys want to go about solving this is different, like in terms of like when you think about what a kind of healing reconciliation, that kind of conversation, how that would take place, I'm seeing is like the approach would be a little bit different. Person A, I think, is wanting to like sit down and seriously, like in a way that is almost kind of the word I was going to say is academic, but like in a way where you kind of approach like studying a subject. They want to really sit down and you two kind of, I was going to say painstakingly, but I don't know why, but like I feel a kind of tediousness to this. Like I think there are a lot of things that they want to go over and kind of break down so that they can get a better understanding of what is going on, and so that they can have kind of I'm seeing someone that wants to have like a template for being able to like run certain behaviors that you, or I don't know why I'm saying you, maybe this is, if you're listening to this you're identifying more with person B, but this is like this energy is wanting to have um kind of like steps that they can take to understand certain behaviors when their partner is doing certain things, because there's a little bit of a disconnect again in how these two people are perceiving and just interpreting the other person's intentions. Um Person B, I think, is wanting again like I'm feeling that person B um I think secretly is wanting a kind of greater display of emotion. This feels like the kind of energy where someone I think this person has a lot to say. This feels like that kind of energy where it's like if you've ever watched romantic movies where there's like the big misunderstanding that eventually drives the two central characters apart, and then whatever, the misunderstanding gets resolved, and one person, person A does some kind of grand gesture. It doesn't even have to be like that grand of a gesture. It could be just like a speech, like a lengthy speech that they give, um apologizing, or whatever, that kind of a thing. It feels like that, like there's a desire for a more a more emotional display, where again person A is wanting to be like, all right, let's sit down and let's talk about like bit point by point like let's draw up a freaking diet or whatever, you know what I mean? Like they want to, I'm seeing, have more of like a a meeting of minds kind of a thing. Like there's a desire to kind of sit down and really just sort things out. um where this other person, maybe they are prone to more, like physical displays of affection and that kind of a thing. But I'm seeing there's like an intensity when this person would think about, that kind of reconciliation. I think it's a lot more intense. It's a lot more, maybe even impulsive, I'll be honest. But it talks about a kind of emotional intensity. um I'm seeing just like those types of intense emotional conversations that maybe lead to other things. Wink, wink, if you know what I'm talking about. Um, Person A's regrets. This is someone that wishes, from the bottom to the top of their heart, that they were able to get out of their own head. This is someone who I think is is aware that they have like certain limitations, like the fact that they are not as considerate as maybe, their partner would like them to be. And this is just, again, someone who can't really get out of their own head. This is someone who overthinks a lot. This is someone who, for like a lack of fear, I'm not a lack of fear, someone who out of fear stops themselves from doing things before they really even give themselves the chance. It's that kind of thing. This is also someone who I think, where like person B, I think, kind of jumps to conclusions and then will kind of want to confront their partner about, whatever they're believing about a situation. This is someone who makes assumptions quietly within their mind and then will act from that place. And because there's this almost um like this is someone who is like will make a lot of assumptions about the way people feel about them. This is someone who kind of makes assumptions about the way people are feeling without actually just addressing it and finding that clarity. You know what I mean? This can be a little bit of like an avoidance for confrontation, which is um, almost seemingly like in conflict with the other person's kind of style, I guess. That's a very interesting mirror. But this person's biggest regret is that they were not able to kind of get out of their own head, get out of their own way. The fact that they, again, just had these assumptions about how this other person felt about them when they were not accurate. It's a lot of self-sabotaging kind of, thoughts and feelings. So I understand why there is a clear disconnect in like these two people understanding one another, because I think one person honestly believed a lot of negative things about themselves and what this other person maybe thought and felt about them. There's a lot going on with that regret specifically. Person B's regret is more around a kind of, it's interesting, again, this mirror is coming up where this other person kind of feels like they maybe didn't let person A in enough. This person maybe feels like this is someone who maybe struggles with letting people do things for them. This is someone who I think in ways that really isolate their partner. This is someone who really just, kind of has to have like a grip on all things. This is someone who maybe struggles with releasing in that way, allowing in, not just allowing help, but like trusting someone else to do something, like trusting someone else with a responsibility. You know what I mean? Something that like this is, I mean, coming through is like basic kind of things that like in a romantic partnership you would want to be able to just fully take your hands off of the reins and let your partner like deal with certain things. But this is someone who, to their own detriment, took everything on. Do you know what I mean? And this is, again, maybe in the connection excuse me, there were these like assumptions, and this was the way that the relationship went, where like one person was kind of doing the brunt of a certain kind of work. But like there needs to be a conversation about that. And I'm seeing, again, this is just kind of in both instances, this was just like these people fell into assumed roles, and then there was a kind of resentment that built from that because there was a lack of communication between the two. And then the misunderstandings just kind of mounted, is what I'm seeing. What is beautiful about this reading is its future, and its future is a very clear Four of Wands. The advice is, um, and again, I'm seeing more on person A's side, but it doesn't have to be. Someone here, someone's intuition is like very on point about what has been going on. Both people are wanting to have honest conversations. We have the Ace of Swords here, we have the Ace of Wands out. Both of you, this is, I mean, if you guys aren't, if this isn't an actual, I don't know why I said actual, but if this isn't like an established family already where there are like children present and like shared resources in that way, this is what is at the bottom of the deck. So I'm feeling like this is either like what is I mean, I feel like generally this is what is at stake. I think you guys would have seen and been envisioning a kind of future in that way. If you already have this, then I mean, that's obviously a different context. But this feels more like a future desire. It is here with temperance. All that is to say that this connection can work. There's not a lack of love here. There are just hurt feelings in between because of a lack of understanding and a need to sit down and understand the way that not just your partner communicates, but that the way your partner is able to receive communication. All right, so that adjustments can be made as needed. Again, trust your intuition, trust your feelings. If you feel like something's off, if you feel like there are things that are going unsaid, and if you can, do so from an unheard and unjudgmental and a non-defensive way, approach a vulnerable and honest conversation, because there is a mutual desire for reconciliation and just a sense of love here overall. This is a reading that I really don't feel like needs an oracle. This is a very clear cut, like, if you guys both want it, there is nothing standing in your way. This obstacle is nothing more than that. It's really just something that has to be looked at for what it is. And just remember that, you and your partner, not to be all cliche or whatever, but you two are on the same team working together to overcome whatever is standing in your way. It's not the two of you versus each other because of this thing. You know what I mean? That's all I have for you guys today. I hope that this helped. If it did resonate and you want to let me know, feel free to drop a like or a comment. I really do love hearing from you guys, and it helps me out greatly with the algorithm, so I appreciate it. If you guys want to know next time I post a video, go ahead and subscribe and hit that little bell, and I really hope to see you guys here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.